In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. I'm pretty sure you heard of this phrase at least once. Was it from that YouTube video you saw the other day? That book that you read some years ago? Or that online friend that keep posting pictures of those weird German World War One like soldiers and that keep calling you a heretic or heretical scum? Well, if you still don't know what I'm talking about, you have come to the right place. Because today we're talking about Warhammer 40k. A hobby, a universe, a money black hole, a series of video games, multiple series of video games, books, sagas, fan animations, comedy, horror, tabletop games, Funko Pop, mugs, t-shirts, animations, movies, everything that you can think of Warhammer 40k is.
Maybe not an unpoliticized community, but I wouldn't be really scared if it wasn't.
And I myself am in love with it. Not obsessed, in love. Give me anything related to it and I'll be happy. But I must admit that I didn't put money in stuff related to it in at least 6 months, which for the last 4 years was quite hard for me. Since the 80s, this company in the UK, known as Games Workshop, fed us silly, badass lore inspired by their first product, Warhammer Fantasy, Lovecraftian horrors, Star Wars and Dune. At first, a tabletop RPG wargame known as Rogue Traders. It slowly evolved merging values of other tabletop games to have what we have today. But then, what is this thing all about? Crusaders in space? A god emperor? Munchy insects? Gods of chaos? Fishy communist weeaboos? Angry mushrooms? It would take more than one video to give them a correct time, and by the end the lore would have been expanded. And there are much better people out there already doing that job. Or a bit worse. I mean worse. More like I personally don't like their style of simply reading from the wiki with a monotone voice. But this does not mean that I cannot try.
Press like and sub and ring that bell if you want to give me trust.
But first, let's see what's all the fuss about. It's the 31st millennium, 42nd if you want to follow events regarding the 8th edition. And the galaxy is a weird place. Forget the utopia fighting unknown horrors of Star Trek or the fantasy-like worlds of Star Wars. Imagine Orwellian nightmares mixed with medieval vibes of fanaticism. Humanity might have forgotten racism, sexism, or even homophobia.
Not true, it depends mostly on a planet by planet, culture by culture basis.
But definitely not forgot how to hate. Imagine you have a culture so fixated on hate that you have a litany of hate. Wait, what even is a litany? Litany, noun, a series of petitions for use in church services or processions. How much do you need to be pissed to write a litany of hate? Okay. I've lost myself. Let's start from the beginning. After a series of events led by the Eldars, basically space elves, murder fucked the god of pleasure, pain, and everything sexual into existence. That's a Slanesh for you. This caused the main way to travel at speed faster than light, and therefore to communicate between planets, the warp, to be really unstable. Not only that, psychers started appearing between humans, and since none of them knew how to use their powers, many just started opening portals from which demons poured out. So, from utopic civilization, humanity regressed into a situation of survival, in which everyone is for themselves and God is for all.
If you don't get it, don't worry. I was too lazy to search something meaningful to say, so I just translated an Italian phrase in English.
Introducing the Emperor of Mankind. After millennia working amongst men, decides to say, "You guys are really bad. I'm taking over." And so he does, with an army of Ubermensch, called the Thunder Warriors, ready to take names and kick asses, and they are all out of names. And so, in the span of a long unification war between genocide and other war crimes against the techno-barbarians, the Emperor looks at the stars and say, "I want it all. I want it all. I want it now." But not before burning the last church on earth. So he reaches Mars, upon which a court of techno-obsessed priests is probably using a toaster in the wrong way. Fixes a knight, basically a big robot, but not for 40k standards, and get the nickname of Omnissiah. While he is completely atheist and would probably kill them all, he allows them to call him funny names and pray every single piece of technology they found, because they know how to make, preserve, and improve stuff. Then the Emperor gave a fast look at his little super soldiers, and noticed that they were a little bit crazy. Therefore he committed a full-scale genocide on them. However, one or two slipped away, and somehow managed to survive for different millennia. So now, with the Mechanicus helping him out, he bioengineered new super soldiers and 12 Primax that would help him lead his empire. However, a few hundred years prior, he made a pact with 4 evil dudes to be really powerful and gain knowledge. And since now he was trying to destroy them, they played a little sneaky on him by throwing all 12, 13 technically, but we are all Alfarius after all, of his kids around the galaxy. So, pissed off and already intention on reclaiming the galaxy, the Great Crusade began, and he found all of his kids, except for 2, that either were really naughty or really unlucky because they might have died. After years of war, everything looks good, except for one of the Primax being batshit crazy and decided to worship his dad as a god, that the Emperor does not like that, and makes little Lorgar a bit pissed. So he decided to turn his big brother Horus into a traitor, and so the Horus heresy began. A few dozen billions of people die in a way or another, and the Emperor himself nearly dies fighting Horus. The war's been won, and guess what? Now the Empire worships her like a god. 10,000 years pass, the Royal Primax slowly disappear from the galaxy, and between wars the Dark Crusades, Hives and Weeaboo's we reach a small planet sitting upon the place from which the nastiest stuff come off. Cadia. Mr. Abaddon, one of the trusty boys of Horus, is now leading the 13th Crusade, and look at that! He succeeded! And destroyed the planet that for 10,000 years had against him. Problem is that one of the elves awake an ancient god of death, and with it they awake one of the royal primax, Mr. Gilliman, that enchanted by the elf god GF, goes back to Terra and start a new crusade, you know, to try and fix the Imperium, and this is quite a brief summary of what happened. Easy, isn't it? And the beautiful part about this is that it is so over the top, so power metal, so stupid, that you always look at it and think this is cool. The fandom is really creative and productive, and while many not love the decision of Games Workshop, there's always material that is expanded on. Gatekeeping is unfortunately a thing here, but personally I invite you all to join us into our game party with plastics toy soldiers and have fun. Do not be afraid of the vocal minority that tells you to stay away. Creativity is key, and if you are not creative, don't worry, the materials are already here. Play Imperial, play System, play Tyranids, play Necrons, or Orc, even Tau. The important part is that you are having fun. I may not be the best to invite you in or back into the party, but know that you are welcome.
Subscribe for more if you liked it. Of course, I'm not forcing you. Also, if you play Tau, haha.